Hi, today I want to talk about something that has been sort of like plaguing me for a while, and it's you need to start creating. Dear young person, you need to start creating. We live in a time where there's been such a surge in AI usage, and it feels like it has also led to a surge of brain cells slowly dying. And what this means is instead of trying to think for yourself, you're using AI models to do all of the thinking for you and all of the editing. So it's like they're the ones brainstorming, they are the ones thinking of the strategy, and they are the ones that you go to execute it. And I think that this is not necessarily a good thing. Actually, I think it's a very bad thing. I used to know someone who used to know someone. Oh, that sounds like I don't know the person anymore. I still do know the person, but I know someone who I can't remember if this was on his shirt or something that he used to tweet. The creator creates through me. And because for the bulk of my life, right, I used to think of a creative as someone who is specifically maybe a writer or a designer or someone who does video editing, just general creative stuff. But the older you get, you tend to see that even in things like business or in science, right, there's something called creative problem solving. And being creative is pretty much just thinking up a solution that's sort of out of the ordinary. Anyway, I digress. So, why do you need to start creating? When I was introduced to using AI models, I'm going to keep saying AI models instead of being specific about which particular one. But when I started using them to write, it was easy. It made my life easy and it freed up so much time for me because I'm the kind of person that sometimes when I am writing, while I follow the advice of most writers, that's pretty much just keep writing. Don't write and try to edit as you write. Write it and then come back and do the edit. So I typically get my thoughts out no matter how disjointed or scattered they are, and I come back to write. But with AI models, I realized that even when my thoughts were disjointed, they could fill in the blank spaces for me. And this just made it so easy for me because what it meant was instead of trying to understand a concept the way it's presented to me, I can just put it into the chatbot and say, dumb this down for me like I'm 5 years old. And they do. And what they give me back is something that is so simple that I get it, but I get it in such a way that I cannot explain that concept to another person. And the more I did this, the more I realized that it was problematic for me. Now, you can say maybe I just really suck at using AI models. You may be right. I mean, I always identify as the tech sis who is not really a tech sis. I just work in tech. But I think that I noticed it as a problem. And my solution was to start creating. So because I realized that, yes, using AI models, it's a great thing, right? It's a novel thing. It's something that makes you much more efficient at your work, particularly because it can take the brunt work, right? Like the brunt work aspect of work and leave you or like free you to do more strategy focused kind of work. The problem is where you begin to outsource your thinking to the AI models. Because what this means is you're not actually growing, you're not actually putting your brain to work, you're not actually sitting down with yourself enough to grow in such a way that you are learning, you are exercising yourself, and you're actually growing in that specific field. As someone who is a generalist in terms of industry experience, what this means is I like unlike some people that have a specific industry that they want to dig their legs into and be like, okay, I'm a fintech specialist or I'm a health tech specialist. I am just a marketer who can work or who wants to work across industries because there are multiple things I want to learn. And I said I'm just a marketer. Meanwhile, I'm leaving marketing. Anyway, that's aside. But because I'm the kind of person who wants to work across industries, it means that I almost always have something to learn when I start to work in a different industry. I have worked in health tech. I have worked in transportation, ride hailing, bus hailing, and deep tech. I currently work in deep tech. And when I say deep tech, I mean proper deep tech. I don't mean, oh, I'm working with maybe full stack devs or I'm working with front end devs, like how you would typically work in your usual tech startups. I'm working with platform engineers who are building something for platform engineers. So it's a lot more deep tech than I could ever have imagined. And honestly, most times I have no idea what you're talking about. And every time I get to this point where I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I have no idea what they're saying and I'm supposed to market this. What are they even doing here? I remember something that my line manager said to me, which was, you were not hired because of your industry expertise, but more for your domain expertise, which is you're a great marketer, and that's why we hired you. We have the industry expertise. We can teach you that, but we can't teach you how to market. So that always consoles me anytime I think of that. Anyway, so talking about what you should create, like I've already mentioned, creativity isn't necessarily just about art. It's about using your brain to think up sort of like innovative, inventive, out of the ordinary ways that you can make things better. And so when I spoke about using AI models to do my work and having them do that work sort of freed up time for me, it also means that in a world where you can use algorithms to do most things, you shouldn't be outsourcing your brain, because what you realize is that you wake up one day and you want to write something and your first thought isn't, okay, how am I trying to approach this thing? How am I thinking about approaching this thing? Your first thought is, oh, let me just put it into this AI model and they need to give me something and then I can start from there. And that's a problem because it means you're not even engaging yourself to start that process of thinking about that process. So I've found that one of the ways that I typically combat this in my personal life, in my work life, is by making a conscious effort to create. Whether it's for private consumption or public consumption, just ensuring that I am actively and consciously doing something that, or like I'm consciously and actively creating something. It lets me exercise my brain. It lets me put my mind to work. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, very good friend of mine, and we were talking about AI and writing because I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to write anymore or if I can write anymore, because I just put everything into an AI model and I'm just like, oh, I don't have to think about it. That's great. And he told me that someone that he knows came to him and was talking about how she was, I think, in a writing slump or something. And he told her to write consistently for 100 days without using AI. And when she started, she wasn't using AI and he could tell the tone of her voice. But sometime, I think in the middle or so, she started using AI models and he began to suspect that she was using AI models because it felt like the tone of her voice was lost. But you know what was funny? Towards the end, he felt like, okay, it had come back to her original voice. But what had happened was that she had learned to program the model in such a way that it could then write in her original voice. But what stands out in all of this is she didn't know that she could write consistently for 100 days without using AI. And that helped her exercise her creative muscles. I have a friend who attempted to write for 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, she was so excited because she had put her creative muscles to work. And I know that I'm hampering more on writing, but that's because that's like what I typically do. I'm a writer, so I write. So that's like the best example I can give of it. But I do think that it's very important, not just for people who say that they are writers. It's important for every single person to find an outlet that lets you exercise your creative muscles without necessarily leaning on AI expertise. Because I'll be honest with you, I have heard stories, I have encountered people who are sort of like entry level, and you're asked, okay, can you help us drum up a simple caption for a social media post? And they're giving you AI generated content. And you're like, I'm sorry. If it's 3 sentences, are you telling me that you could not write 3 sentences from your own head? Are you telling me that you have so outsourced this entire thinking thing that I will say, oh, I have this picture I want to post or this video I want to post and I need a quick caption for it, and the next thing you're opening ChatGPT? I think it's problematic. And part of my reasons for thinking this is because when I started out working, I started out as a writer, a content writer in the digital arm of an ad agency. And I was a content writer because I had spent a lot of time, not so much time, but I had spent about 3-4 years or so just writing poems and short stories because I liked to write. It was like I don't know, what would I call it? It was an outlet for me because I am very introverted. So what this means for me is that I tend to live a lot in my head. So I can have complete conversations in my head. I can be telling stories in my head, right? And it was just a way for me to pen that down and just pen my thoughts in a creative way that other people could read and know that, okay, this is how this person's mind works. So when I worked there, it was my very first actual proper corporate job. And in my role there, I had to learn how to write captions on the go, had to write content plans. And this was all before the AI boom thing started. And I will say something my line manager, Daniel, says. As I say that, I understand that I'm showing my age by saying that, but it is what it is, right? So there wasn't really a lot that was happening with AI, at least in Nigeria at that point. This was what, 2018, 2019. So in consistently writing, in consistently coming up with captions, having my line manager edit some or tell me this is like a better way to write it or to approach this, what was happening in that time was that I was honing my writing skill. I was honing my voice, and I was then learning how to write in the voice of the different brands I was working with. But what was most important was that I was learning how to write contextually. I was learning how to quickly make a point without dragging it for so long, which is quite unlike what I do on this podcast because I just yap and yap and yap and yap. But I digress. So I was learning how to be a better writer by simply writing. And it was really helpful because from that job, I got another job as a copywriter / content strategist. That was at SafeBorder. And that's where all my scripts that I had written previously just for fun, right? I began to write scripts for radio, for video, copy for, yes, it's copy. It's not copies. In marketing, the plural of copy is copy, not copies. Anyway, as I was saying, writing copy for billboards and then for push notification, writing emails. I remember that I started an email series that someone sent a DM to Shay from SafeBorder on Twitter to be like, oh, Shay, I really love your stories. And all those things made me happy because it felt like I was doing something that I was really interested in. Like I was telling stories, and telling stories was my job. And that was really exciting. And I was doing all of this without AI. So when I ask someone who is considerably younger, who is just starting out, who is like entry level, and I'm like, and I have this experience because I have led teams for social media. I have worked with different people on different brands. And when someone gives me something that lacks personality, I can tell. I can tell that you did not write this from your head, right? So it's just, I don't want to say it's hurtful, because honestly, it's not hurtful for me because I know how to write. I've honed my voice to the point where I can communicate what I want to communicate. But it's hurtful for anyone who is just starting out and hasn't given themselves to that training of actually exercising their creative muscles. I think that it's a problem. And I think that it's not something that you should be doing. It's fine if you are doing it because, it makes your life easy. But if that is the case, then you should ensure that you carve out a way that you are consistently honing your muscles. It could be as simple as spending the time to think up a first draft, and then you put it into the AI models and have them either rewrite it to be more concise or just help you flesh it out. I think that's a better way to navigate it than to just outrightly outsource your thinking, because you're still young. If you start using AI to do simple things like writing 2 sentences, what are you going to be doing in 20 years? Will you no longer have a mind of your own? It's something to think about. Dear young person, please start creating. The creator should be able to create through you. You are creative. You are made in his image. Start creating. Future you will thank you for putting in the work today. All right. Until next time. Bye.